Hello YouTube and welcome to my guide on one-cycling ambassador in a solo encounter. So what actually is a one-cycle? A one-cycle at ambassador is you do enough damage to ambassador in the first phase that you prevent him from spawning the sinister fragments more than once. If you can do this reliably, you'll have substantially easier kills because you have way fewer mechanics to deal with than more than that, but it is not necessary to actually get a one cycle at the ambassador in order to get a kill. It is definitely possible to do it in 2 or 3. If you're watching this video and you want to use some of the strategies in this guide, you're going to want to at least make sure you have a solo encounter kill so that you have a good idea of what happens throughout the fight. I'm not going to be covering how I deal with all the mechanics. I'm also going to be focusing on the melee style, although perhaps some of these techniques and strategies I use are going to be usable in the ranged or magic style as well. This is not going to be easy to do at first, but you should eventually be able to make this work. Don't give up if you get 2 or 3 cycles on this boss though, because that can definitely get you a kill, and maybe some of the strategies in this fight that I show are going to be usable to help you go from like a 3 to maybe a 2 cycle, and that'll be a win as well. Here's a loadout I actually use myself when fighting the ambassador in a solo encounter. I do use this loadout and this inventory actually to fight a number of bosses that I use the melee style with, so not everything that I have in these loadouts and these inventories is actually necessary to kill the boss in a one cycle. In our loadout, we are using Trim Masterwork Armor, a Vampirism Scrimshaw, a Ring of Vigor, Laceration Boots, Cinderbane Gloves, Tier 90 melee weapons, and then an Essence of Finality Amulet. I'm using the best cape I have available, and I have a rune pouch which has Disruption Shield runes. If you don't have Disruption Shield runes, you won't need to put anything in this slot. Here is an inventory that I use at all of my solo ambassador encounters. I have Overloads, Weapon Poison, Azaros Godsword, Vulnerability Bombs, Sardome and Bruise, some food, some spiritual prayer potions, some adrenaline urns, adrenaline potion, vitality power bursts, a ring of death, and a shield. Not all this gear is actually that necessary to get the boss fight done. I tend to often forget using my weapon poison, and you definitely do not need the Noxious Scythe, the Enhanced Excalibur, or the Dominion Mines that are in my inventory. Those I just have because I use them for other things. It will definitely be possible to use a lot less than this gear to get a one cycle at ambassador, so don't be afraid to come into solo ambassador with the gear you normally use to solo ambassador, even if it's lower level gear than this. You should eventually be able to find a way that works for you. If you are able to solo ambassador without using a ton of food, you can use a Ripper Demon, and I highly recommend using one of these familiars because these can do a large amount of damage independent of your character. What you do is you summon your Ripper Demon, and then you can use Death from Above scrolls up to 500 onto the Ripper Demon. These Death from Above scrolls will go from your inventory into the Ripper Demon's inventory, and your Ripper Demon will be able to use these special attack scrolls to help attack the boss. You can also set the auto fire rate to 1 so that every opportunity that the Ripper Demon has to cast a special attack, the Ripper Demon will do so, and this is what you're looking for. Before you start the fight, you actually want to make sure you get to 100% adrenaline and stall before you actually get into the actual ambassador fight. It takes a little bit to get to the ambassador, so make sure you don't lose adrenaline on your way there. As you begin the fight, you can start with the Disruption Shield, although you can pray magic to start the fight if you don't have Disrupted Shield available to you. You want to start the fight with a huge Berserk rotation. You want to Berserk before you start attacking the Ambassador, and then actually land your first hit on Ambassador with a mutated barge. After you hit him with the mutated barge, you want to throw a vulnerability bomb at Ambassador, and then drink your adrenaline potion, and then use Assault as soon as you can. This will be treated as a bleed, which allows your character to use another threshold, in this case Destroy, concurrently with the Assault. After that, you want to use your next best threshold. In this case, I used, on any of the smoke attacks that happen, you want to Bladed Dive back about 4 squares as the blue adrenaline bar above your character's head is at the last quarter or less. You want to wait about 2 seconds there, waiting for the smoke to place and waiting another second after that, and then barge back if you can, or walk back to attack the boss after that. It's important when you're trying to 1cycle that you spend as little time as possible dealing with this mechanic in order to give yourself the maximum time to actually damage the boss. When you get the black hole attack, you wait until the blue bar above the black hole gets to its last quarter, and then you drink the Power Burst of Vitality. You can also use Reprisal here in order to reflect the damage from the black hole back onto the Ambassador. You do not need to actually stun the black hole using this method, which gives you more time to continue to attack the boss. At this time also, you will want to use your Zaros Godsword spec if you have that available to you. For the second smoke attack, you can damage Ambassador until the blue adrenaline bar above your character's head is in its last quarter, and then you Bladed Dive back 4 squares, and then wait a few seconds until the smoke places, and then 1 more second after that, and then you can get back on Ambassador. You may not want to use Mutated Barge because you sometimes want to use Mutated Barge onto the Sinister Fragments, which is the next mechanic. If you need more time to damage Ambassador, you can stay right next to Ambassador and continue to attack him, and as the smoke places, you move a few squares out of the smoke and then you continue attacking Ambassador. You want to get Ambassador to about 750,000 or less health before the Sinister Fragments spawn, or it'll be a very difficult time getting a 1cycle at the Ambassador. For the Sinister Fragments, it is important that you use enough of the right thresholds to clear each of the Sinister Fragments. You do not want to use too many thresholds to clear one Sinister Fragment, because you will not be able to have as much adrenaline with later Sinister Fragments, and you may need the threshold on a later Sinister Fragment as well. The Ambassador at the end of the Sinister Fragment attack will explode once for every time he absorbs a Sinister Fragment. Bladed Dive's cooldown will actually reset every single time you kill the Ambassador. The Ambassador does not auto-attack during this time, so it is perfectly safe to pray Soul Split throughout this attack. You want to go behind Ambassador and then attack the first Sinister Fragment to the right. For this one, just use Assault or Destroy, and then basic abilities to finish off the Sinister Fragment. For the second Sinister Fragment, you Bladed Dive to the north from the first Sinister Fragment, and then you slaughter and then kick the Sinister Fragment, followed by now Bladed Dive to the left, and then attack the next Sinister Fragment with either an Assault or Destroy, whichever one is not on cooldown, and then use basics to finish this one off. Next, attack to the one to the left, and then use Flurry, a threshold ability, and then finish it off with basic. For the fifth Sinister Fragment, you want to use Assault or Destroy, and then any other thresholds and or weapon special attacks that you need in order to finish off this Sinister fragment. For a 6th Sinister fragment, just use basics. You will not be able to kill this one normally. When the Sinister fragment attack ends, Ambassador will absorb any remaining Sinister fragments that are alive. If there is just one Sinister fragment, that will mean there is only one explosion. In this case, you only need to use either Disruption Shield or Resonance to defend against a single explosion. If you killed 4 Sinister fragments and have 2 explosions, then you will need to Resonance or Disruption Shield the first Sinister fragment explosion, and then if you had Disruption Shield, you then Resonance the second Sinister fragment explosion, and if you don't have Disruption Shield, you debilitate the second Sinister fragment explosion. If you have 3 Sinister fragment absorptions, then you'll want to either Disruption Shield, followed by Resonance, followed by Debilitate if you have Disruption Shield, or you'll need to Debilitate and then Reflect for 2 Sinister fragment explosions, and then Resonance the last one. If you have 3 explosions though, it will often be quite difficult to actually get a 1 cycle, so try to do at least 4 or more of the Sinister fragments. For the 2nd cycle of damage, you want to do the same best Berserk rotation you can. You may not actually be able to Berserk immediately after the first set of Sinister fragments, so build up to 100% adrenaline and then use Berserk as soon as possible. Make sure you also throw a vulnerability bomb. And the best outside of Berserk rotation you can. You're going to handle the mechanics as you did before, but on the second smoke attack, you may actually need to use more adrenaline in order to try to get Ambassador to 550,000 before he gets to spawn more Sinister fragments. If you aren't close to 550,000 health after the second smoke, then just build up and be ready to deal with another set of Sinister fragments. You will have to also deal with another set of smoke attacks and black holes, so be ready for that. At 550,000 health, you'll finish phase 1 of Ambassador. If you've managed to do this with only 1 set of Sinister fragments coming out, congratulations, you have finished a 1 cycle Ambassador. Now just get the kill as you usually would. You may find that you have less food than you expect to work with, so this may need to take some practice, but don't worry, you should eventually be able to get it. Each phase 1 cycle of Ambassador lasts exactly 2 minutes, which means you should easily be able to use your Adrenaline Potion every cycle and your Power Burst Vitality every cycle without too many problems. You may need to use some potions a little bit early during the first cycle in order to do enough damage through the second cycle. If you are able to 1 cycle Ambassador successfully, your kill times will end up between around 5 minutes to 6 minutes, although if you're really fast, they can even go to around 3 minutes. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and hopefully you all learned something about soloing the Ambassador in this video. I'll be releasing more video guides on various RuneScape content in the future. Be sure to leave a like on the video, comment down below anything you liked or learned from this video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.